Welcome to Inspired Living with Mark and Kim. Every Wednesday, Mark and Kim, along with their special guests, will explore thought-provoking topics and ideas that promote creativity, self-help, healing, happiness, and well-being to inspire you on your spiritual journey. Each week, Mark and Kim will discuss different paths to achieving a more spiritual, balanced, happy, and healthy lifestyle. Topics will elevate consciousness and range from metaphysics to the human and social experience, and all things spiritual. Welcome to an inspired community that offers support, encouragement, and new ways of thinking. Mark and Kim are tested, certified, and professional spiritual mediums, metaphysical teachers, healers, and spiritual advisors with their own individual spiritual practices in Seattle, Washington, and Los Angeles, California. You are the inspired and the inspiration.
True forgiveness is when you can say thank you for that experience. What a great quote by Oprah Winfrey, as noted in our guest today, Wendy Williams' book, as we talk about the power of regression healing and how one of the things it can help with is forgiveness. Welcome to Inspired Living with Mark and Kim. But today it's Inspired Living with Kim because my co-host is a part of what I know is going to be an amazing workshop with world-renowned medium Tony Stockwell up in Canada. So, Mark, you are going to be missed today, but I couldn't be happier for you because I know what it's like to be in one of those workshops. It feels like a true blessing to be able to spend your time like that because you know that major transformation is about to happen, and we can't wait to hear about your experiences when you come back next week. I'm Kim Falcon, founder of Love First, where life transformations happen in Encino, California. If there's anything I can do to help you live a happier and purposeful life in the way of readings, healings, or hypnotherapy, please find me at lovefirst.info. I am living my life's purpose by doing this work. I love what I do, and I would honored to work with you. If you'd like to learn more about my co-host, Mark Lanehart, and all of the beautiful work he's doing up in the Seattle area and around the world, you can find him at marklanehart.com. And if you'd like to interact with us on social media, you can find us on Facebook under Inspired Living Radio, Twitter and Instagram under Inspired for Us, Google Plus, Inspired Living with Mark and Kim. And this is where you can interact with us to find out about upcoming shows. You can also send through any questions that you might have for us on these platforms. You can also listen to all of our archives on OMTimes Radio. There are archive lists. So all of our live shows move to an on-demand platform, usually within the next 24 to 48 hours. You can find us on Podbean, SoundCloud, marklanehart.com, YouTube, and iTunes. As you know, every month we have an inspired affirmation. And so the inspired affirmation for the month of September is, my obstacles are moving out of my way. My path is carved towards greatness. And I just love that quote because, or that affirmation, I should say, because that is part of actually what we're going to be talking about today, too, is how to move some of these obstacles that we encounter in our present lives out of the way. And you can do that through things like past-life regression. Today, we're also taking in calls from our audience. If you've got questions for me or for Wendy on the topic of today, we would love to hear from you. The call-in number is 202-570-7057. So without further delay, Wendy Rose Williams is a Seattle area Past-Life Regressionist. She is an author and a speaker She's a Reiki healer, an ordained minister, and a channel from Mary Magdalen. Wendy's first short story, A Tiny Bow and Arrow, was published in the Best of Spiritual Writers Network 2014. She recently recorded her first audiobook, The Shaman and the Goddess, and is poised to publish her first nonfiction book, Regression Healing, The Huntsman, The Lord High Mayor, and the World War II Soldier. And this is a book that was inspired by an actual client session. We're going to spend some time talking about that today. Wendy is also co-authoring a Universal Life Force Healing book with the renowned Mystic Robin Alexis. And Wendy and Robin they're also going to begin a co-teaching this information as an 8-week teleconference course beginning in early 2017. Wendy, welcome to Inspired Living. Thank you for being with us today.
Well, my pleasure, Kim. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, we have got a lot of what I know will be just fascinating information to go through, to talk about your experiences, your knowledge in this area of regression healing and all the beautiful work that you're doing around this. Talk to us a little bit about your background. What is regression healing? Let's start with that.
Well, regression healing was inspired by Dolores Cannon's quantum healing hypnotherapy technique. And Chris Turner was one of Dolores Cannon's students. He is over in the UK, and I was introduced to Chris once he created regression healing as a technique and had the good fortune to be in his beta class. So I was in the very first class to train with him as a Past-Life Regressionist.
And so did you go all the way to the UK to study with him?
I didn't. The beauty of Skype.
Oh, there you go. Okay. And that's the beauty of some of the work you're doing today, too. It can be done on Skype. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely, because you just need that good voice-to-voice consistent contact. That's all you need to be able to tune into the energy together, to be able to have a conversation together, just like we are now with our listeners.
Yes, it's amazing how we can reach people all over the world now with the work that we do, and what a blessing that is.
Absolutely.
So, when you say a past life regressionist or regression healing, is that the same as past life regression?
That's a perfect question to start with early, Kim. I'm glad you asked that. The regression healing sessions that I offer, many clients will experience a past life or lives, but not all of them will. About 80% do. And the reason for that is it's their higher self, it's their guides, their spirit guides, their angels, whomever, whichever beings of light are coming in, they guide the session. So I simply guide the person and help them via a guided meditation go to a place where there is knowledge or healing for them today, is the wording I use. I don't say go to a past life or go to, 1492. I don't make suggestions like that. It's up to their higher self and guides to take them to that place that they need to go to where they'll get the most benefit.
And so when you say their higher self, what do you mean by the word higher self? We hear that all the time in, spiritual conversations.
Sure. I see the higher self as being our true essence, our soul. A lot of folks consider, once they're familiar with the concept of the higher self, as being this far-off energy up at home, in heaven, whatever your belief system is. But I believe we are fully capable of and should align with our higher self to be the best person that we can be every day. The second I sit up on the side of the bed in the morning, I call in my higher self.
Oh, I like that. I've never thought of that. Sometimes
before the feet hit the floor, bring in the best of you for the day.
I love that. Before your feet hit the floor, bring the best of you in for today.
Yes.
That's a really good quote, actually. I like it. So what if someone says, well, I don't know that I've ever connected with my higher self. I've never done that before. Is that going to be a challenge for them in a past life session?
You just have to visualize. You just have to take some things on faith and use your imagination, use your right brain, just be open to the guiding and act as if. And some people connect right away, and other people it's very subtle, or it might take longer, and that's okay. We're all very unique and different. It probably took me a good 6 months. I might have been a bit slow with it. Other people say, "Oh, I felt it right away." But for me to feel it very powerfully and very quickly, it took daily practice, and it took that amount of time. It's different for everybody.
Right. Yes, it is. And so, if someone is coming to you for a session, might it take a few sessions to get to where it is they need to be in that experience to be able to connect in the ways that might be needed?
That's a great question too, and surprisingly, no. The biggest determinant of how powerful and how easy the first session is, because I do very comprehensive sessions, which we'll talk about in a second, but the biggest determinant is whether they meditate at all or whether they have any spiritual practice. It can be as simple as, a little bit of yoga, some auto writing, some drumming, just any meditating, just any type of spiritual practice. And if they have some of that and have had some sense of their guides, of angels, of ancestors, whomever it might be, that then makes it easier. But I've also worked with folks who just have had no experiences like that and come into it very skeptical, like I did. Me going to my first session in 2011 was probably that hypnotherapist's nightmare. Because I was an MBA who didn't meditate and had zero spiritual experiences. So,
oh, wow.
And started yes. from really zero. And within 2 hours, it was amazing. I had seen multiple past lives, cleaned up so much from this life, and my jaw was dropping and her jaw was dropping too. And it's like, wow, this is not only powerful, this is fun. It's liberating.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's achievable by everyone.
Absolutely. Anyone who has an open mind, who's interested. You can't be there in a punitive place of, oh, my spouse sent me.
And Wendy, hold that thought. That's our cue. We're heading into our first break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Stay with us as we continue our conversation with Wendy Williams and Past-Life Regression.
The future of Internet radio is here. OMTimes Radio, IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Have you been searching for a perspective beyond the mainstream? Check it out. Join your hosts Yelito Pascual and Diana Gold Holland on Share International Radio for thought-provoking views behind the news, Sundays at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio. You can also find us at shareontheairradio.org. This may be the message of hope you've been waiting for.
Are you seeking answers to life questions? Would you like to connect to a departed loved one? Are you suffering from pain, stress, or anxiety? Kimberly Thalkin is a tested, certified, and professional psychic, spiritual medium, energy healer, hypnotherapist, and the founder of Love First, where life transformations happen. Love First services support, guide, and empower individuals by connecting them to their highest potential to live a healthier, joyful, and meaningful life that's filled with purpose. All services can be done by phone, Skype, or in person in Encino, California. Please visit lovefirst.info. That's LOVEFIRST.info for more information.
Every 2 minutes, an American is sexually assaulted. The majority of victims know their attacker. It could be your friend, your neighbor, or someone you met at a party. If you said no, it's rape, and it's a crime. This is Christina Ricci with RAIN. Call the National Sexual Assault Hotline today at 1-800-656-HOPE or visit RAIN.org. That's RAINN.org.
Brought to you by RAIN and this station.
And welcome back to Inspired Living with Mark and Kim and our special guest today, Wendy Williams, as we talk about past lives and past life regression. If you have questions for our guest today, call us. We'd love to hear from you. And she does amazing work. She'd be a great person to ask if you've got questions about what a past life regression is. Do past lives exist? What can be achieved through past life regression? We're going to be answering all of those questions today, and you can call us now live. We'll bring you to air. The number is 202-570-7057. If you'd like to learn more about our guest today, you can reach her by phone. She's available at 425-502-0362. You can also email her at Wendy R. Williams, that's with an S on the end, at hotmail.com. And you can find her on social media, on Facebook, at Wendy Rose Williams. Wendy, welcome back.
Thank you, Kim.
Yeah, so before we went to break, you were talking about really that anybody can have this experience, but are there some people that this kind of experience would not be good for, or may have trouble going into this type of a trance state?
There's just a few people that this is contraindicated for who should not consider having a session. As someone who has a diagnosis of bipolar disease or schizophrenia or dissociative identity disorder are the three types of folks that I'm not able to work with. They'd be better served by a shaman or a mystic, in my opinion, who can travel on their behalf and journey for them. But those are the only folks.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. So, Wendy, tell us a little bit about, how did you become interested in past life regression? What was it? Because it sounded like you came from a very different background with the MBA, no spiritual experiences. What was it that motivated you to learn more about this?
The wake-up call that just like fell out of the sky and changed my world was reading Dr. Michael Newton's Journey of Souls. And the minute I started reading that, I don't think I was 2 or 3 pages in, and just the emotional impact it had on me. I mean, tears were pouring down my face, and it's like, I know this, I remember this, this is true, this is right, this is correct. I didn't know I was missing all this. I remember. It just was like cracking open an egg. So very powerful experience.
Very powerful, remembering that part of you.
Yes, and just being able to go from the place of being skeptical and then moving from, is it possible that we reincarnate? Because we Westerners, that's not often part of our belief system. When you look worldwide, many folks do understand and do have that cultural or religious or spiritual belief. But it's only about estimated around 20% of Americans, but I think it's starting, and other Westerners, but starting to grow fairly rapidly to people at least being willing to say, gee, maybe there is something bigger going on here, a belief of something outside ourselves.
And, I think a lot of people's, it's becoming a little bit more known here in the States, as you just pointed out. But I think when people think of past life regression, most of the time they think of, oh, well, that might be kind of cool to see if I was a nun in a past life or something like that, or maybe I was a princess, or, but there is so much deeper than that. While that part of it, of course, is interesting to learn your history, there's so much healing that can take place through this type of session. So talk to us a little bit about all the different ways in which past life regression can help someone and how it can help someone in this lifetime.
Absolutely. And you just hit the nail on the head in several areas, Kim. And what's ironic about past life regression, and that's part of why I prefer to call it regression healing, because it may be for this life. There may not be a past life at all, but the focus is now. I mean, Eckhart Tolle writes about that so beautifully in his books, and so have many others, to just be here now. That's what we're here to experience. And the irony of the past life regression work that I do is folks are healing and releasing past issues and hurts and things that they're not even aware where they're coming from, whether it can be as simple as just this overwhelming fear of spiders or, whatever it might be that can truly be having an impact on their life. So the sorts of things you were describing, kind of more of like a lighthearted curiosity factor.
Right.
And I don't typically have many clients. I don't think I've had a single client like that. Folks are typically coming because there's a disconnect. They might be struggling with anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder. They might have physical pain. And it's just things that they've tried many things to heal, to work on, and they're just not getting the relief. And that little voice in their head keeps saying, dig deeper, there's something else going on here. Or a friend might have had a session, or they might have read about it and think, could this really be true? Could this really help me? A lot of folks come to me and there's some blocked creativity. And I was a perfect example of that because of the writing. I had a lot of trouble getting started with the writing. Folks come to me and they'll say, I just feel after the session, they just say, I feel so much more confident. I didn't know I could be so calm. My self-esteem is just better and easier. But again, that physical healing, mental, emotional. So it's really touching on all components. And folks aren't limited to one. It's not like you're saying, okay, I want a session just for this one reason. They may have a presenting issue. But again, the beings of light, the higher self, the guides come in, and it's like they're going through this master checklist. It's just beautiful because I do the comprehensive sessions that can last anywhere from 2 to about 6.5 hours. So getting back.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. Do you take a snack break in between? How does that work? A bathroom break? I mean,
we do that as needed, but I just hold the energy for the person that whole time. So it takes a lot of energy on my part and their part, but people love it because they don't have to do, session after session after session. I mean, they're certainly welcome to come back, and some people will do a follow-up in, 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever it might be. But some folks, it is one and done. And how often can you say that?
Wow. Well, just in having read through your book, I can see where how comprehensive you are in the work that you do.
Thank you.
So that was very clear in the your book that I read through. So 6-hour sessions, that's pretty intensive. Now, some people may be experiencing challenges in this lifetime. Does it always mean that it's related to a past life?
No, it can be related to this life. I mean, we all have those challenging moments that we didn't quite release, and it can still be in your body, it can still be in your psyche, and just reframing it. When you're able to pull up to the higher vibration energy that the regression healing, that place it gets you to very quickly. I mean, the initial guided meditation, it's only about 10 minutes or so. And you're then able to get to that place where you're seeing with more wisdom, you're seeing with that lens of the higher self and the soul. And a lot of people have never seen that way. Not consciously.
Yes, and that must be a very transformative experience to experience themselves in ways they were completely unaware of prior to that. Yes.
There can be some real surprises, which is why I always tape and create an audio tape, an MP3 for folks so that they can listen to it, because a lot of it they won't remember, or they'll just, because you're busy visioning at the time and speaking and, thinking it through. But when you can hear it later on the tape and hear your voice change and hear the wisdom coming through, it's powerful.
Mm-hmm. And what are some of the things that I feel like our audience is listening and they're we're piquing their interest about all these things that are available to them, that they are open to them to experience. So talk to us about what that experience might be like for someone who's going through this type of session.
I've been very fortunate. Folks have been very kind in writing testimonials for me. So that's something I always supply to prospective clients, because just to hear it in their own words and to hear people say things like, I feel free, I feel taller. I love that one. Someone telling me she felt taller. And it was because she forgave herself and she took the weight of the world off her shoulders. Well, wouldn't you feel taller?
Yes.
So that was just, a simple example that was really powerful. Many people, they resolve relationships that they might not even be in anymore, but you can still be struggling with angst around a former spouse or around someone who's passed on, that sort of thing. So being able to clarify all that and reframe it, forgive, be forgiven, understand why it happened, that makes a huge difference.
Being able to answer that question, why, to connect the dots, that can only happen doing this kind of work, meditation, that kind of thing, is so liberating. It just helps bring so much peace in, doesn't that?
Absolutely. And part of the journey in regression healing is I always offer to take people to a place of healing. And every single person has said yes and has gone. And we just do a process where I explain to them that they'll be visualizing a colored light, and whatever color comes to them, it's going to go wherever they need it on their body, in their field. And every person has been able to do that exercise, and many people have said that was their favorite part. Some people might spend 5 minutes. I had one person, I think we spent 90 minutes. And I didn't know this about him, but he told me afterwards he had been severely traumatized as a child. And I didn't need to know that. There was no reason. He didn't need to share that. He kept his privacy and didn't share that with me. But it wasn't necessary. But he was kind enough to share it with me after, and I thought that explains why we spent so much time there. And it just was very beautiful. And it's literally just the different colors of the rainbow. And some folks get very creative and, well, it's like the color of a fudgicle. And others are just, straight up, I see red and it's going to my left hip.
Right. Oh, my goodness. A fudgicle sounds good right about now. Actually, I remember reading that in your book. And so for the listening audience, you have an upcoming book coming out called The Huntsman, the Lord High Mare, and the World War II Soldier. It's about regression therapy, regression healing, I should say. And it's actually based on an actual client session. That is our cue. We're heading into our second break here. Stay with us. We'll be back in 2 minutes as we continue our conversation around past lives.
The cutting edge of conscious radio, OMTimes Radio, IOM FM.
Have you wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Eros Evolution is where sexuality and spirituality meets. Join me, clinical sexologist Martha Tara Lee, on Eros Evolution on Thursdays, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
One planet, 7.3 billion people, only one you. Life offers us many opportunities and learning experiences. Are you ready to explore and discover this beautiful planet, the life and energy all around us, the spiritual world, and what is unseen, along with your own personal soul adventure? Mark Lanehart, the intuitive prospector, is the spiritual connection you have been prospecting for. Internationally known as a tested and professional clairvoyant medium and spiritual advisor, Mark's work as a metaphysical teacher, medical instructor, radio show host, inspirational writer, and hiking guide are here to help you on a journey of self-discovery, healing, inspiration, education, and a whole lot of spiritual awesomeness. Dare to dream. Dare to explore. Dare to live. For more information on Mark's spiritual practice in Seattle, Washington, please visit marklanehart.com or internet search The Intuitive Prospector.
So, I'm a dog, and I just got adopted by this new human guy, and I'm starting to wonder how he got along without me. I mean, okay, something as simple as walking around the block. He's got this leash thing, and he puts me on one end and him on the other, and I'm just taking him around. I think he's afraid of getting lost. Without that leash and me guiding him along, I don't think he'd find his way back home. But it's kind of cute.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
And welcome back to Inspired Living with Mark and Kim and our special guest today, Wendy Williams, as we talk about past lives and past life regression. If you have questions for our guests, call us live. We'll bring you to air. You can ask anything you'd like to on this topic. We've got a guest who is an expert in this area. She's been doing some amazing work. The number here, 202-570-7057. Before we went to break, we were going to be talking about Wendy's upcoming book, but we do have a caller that has called in with a question. So, Shamala, thank you for calling in, and how can we help you today?
Oh, hi, Kim. Hi, Wendy. I have a question. I have two questions. I want to know if you've ever experienced a client during regression recall a past life as an animal, or having a life, say, on another planet or another dimension of time and space besides the Earth.
Yes, absolutely. And again, that's why I don't suggest I leave it open-ended so that their higher self and guides take them to where they need to go. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Shamala,
is there an example or a story or an example of what that experience
there
was like?
Sure. There is a quick one. I guided a lovely female client to go home in the sense of crossing over to the light, going to heaven, again, whatever your belief system is. And she went so far and so fast and so quickly, and I'm thinking we're crossing over to home and we'll go to a place of healing and we'll go to the place of all knowledge. Instead, she is piloting a spaceship, and she went to her home planet. And she was quiet, and I asked her, "Are you home? Do you see the light?" And she said, "Well, no, I'm not quite there, and I have to get my ship checked in." And I'm like, "Ship?" And then she described going on this conveyor belt and what this system was, and she started telling me about her home planet. So I had to catch up to her quickly and just start asking her some open-ended questions.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Shamala?
Yes.
Shamala, did you have any other questions? Or Wendy, actually, I think the other part to that question was if you've ever had somebody go back to a life where they were an animal. Has that ever?
Yes.
I personally have not, but I've had lots of friends who have done sessions in either they themselves or with a client. And it can be a tree, it can be a rock, it can be a big yellow bird, it can be a horse, it can be just anything. And I believe it's simply that beautiful reminder to us that everything is energy, and that we choose to incarnate in many forms, in many places and times and spaces and dimension to get more experiences, to progress at the soul level. That's my belief why that is so open-ended, what we choose to incarnate as.
Oh, okay.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
That makes sense to me. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Wendy.
Well, thank you for calling.
Shamala. Thank you for calling.
Okay.
So,
bye.
Bye. So, Wendy, question for you on that. If somebody has lived in another galaxy, another dimension, do they, where they have maybe higher forms of knowledge or different types of knowledge in these other, places?
Yes.
Do they bring that knowledge with them here to Earth? Do they remember it?
They often do, and they often, shouldn't say often, some have had a sense of it, so they may submit a question to me ahead. I encourage folks to submit written questions the day before, and we make that be part of their session when we go to the place of all knowledge, and I ask them their own questions on their behalf. So often they've had an inkling if they've bothered to, if they've already known to put it on the question list. Mm-hmm. There's been something, their intuition's been speaking to them or they've had an experience. Other folks, it's a complete surprise. And because I ask them toward the end of the session, do you have any message for all of humanity? And that's where it typically will come out is toward the end of the session. And I save it for then because they're typically at the deepest level of trance, and they're the most comfortable in the energy, and they're able to answer it the best at that time. And we've also already had the healing and looked at any karma and resolved that, and looked at soul contracts and resolved those. So they're just in that super tuned up place, like taking your car and it's all running perfectly, where they can answer that question.
So for those members in the audience that are listening, you're talking about soul contracts and relationships. So relationships have got to be one of the greatest life lessons here on this earth plane that we work through and learn from, and all those good things.
They certainly are.
Talk to us a little talk to us a little bit about how regression healing can help with soul contracts and what a soul contract is.
I view soul contracts as being agreements that we make with others before we incarnate, and it's like laying out a lesson plan before you go off to school, as an analogy. And let's say you need to learn more humility, or to more easily forgive, or maybe you need to learn to forgive yourself. Well, if those are the things that you need to do to progress as a soul, you're going to set up lessons that are going to bring those up. And those are often we will create a soul contract with another person to do that. For example, on one of my own, the reason I was led to Journey of Souls, and it was such a big deal for me, was I found the soul contract with the person who told me about that book. And he had the contract to wake me up spiritually. So he did it with that book.
Isn't that amazing? Wow.
So that's just an example, a simple example of, but it can be profound.
Now, and we're going to talk about that because there's some soul contract information that came up in your book too with your client. But can you change or alter contracts at all through regression?
Yes, you can. My belief is we are here to be healthy. We're here to be happy. We're here to live our soul mission, our life purpose. We're not here to be miserable and suffering. So if there's a soul contract, it is okay to love yourself. You should love yourself. Your soul contracts should serve you. You're not being selfish. But it's interesting how many folks, including me, I was very squeamish of it at first. I thought, am I trying to get out of something? Is this going to be a problem later? Am I being unethical or not in integrity? And it's not that you don't perform it, but it's that you resolve it or transmute it as needed.
Okay. That is our cue. We're going into our third break here, our final break. Stay with us. We'll be back in 2 minutes on Inspired Living with Mark and Kim.
Bringing a more conscious lifestyle to your world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Dr. Kevin here, and I want to invite you every Thursday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, to join me on the Dr. Kevin Show, where we have a diversity of guests who help you step outside the box, behind the curtain, and see what a load of crap is going on in the world today, so you have more information with which to make better decisions. We'll see you there. Namaste.
There is no death, only a change of worlds. Chief Seattle. Deborah Livingston is an award-winning intuitive psychic medium whose international services include mediumship, spiritual assessment, animal communication, and spiritual mentoring. She is a published author and a trained shaman. Deborah provides evidential messages from spirit and departed loved ones. Learn more at deblivemedium.com. That's DEBLIV medium.com.
What's up? This is Brad and Mike from Lincoln Park for LifeBeat, the music industry fights AIDS.
Listen up, times are tough and you get a lot of things thrown your way. If you're being pressured to have sex and you're not ready, then say no. If you're having sex, be smart and use protection. Respect yourself and protect yourself.
For more information, call the National AIDS Hotline at 1-800-342-AIDS or log on to www.lifebeat.org.
And welcome back to Inspired Living with Mark and Kim and our special guest today, Wendy Williams, as we talk about past lives, past-life regression. You can find Wendy at 425-502-0362, or you can also email her at Wendy R. Williams, that's with an S, at hotmail.com. You can also find her on Facebook, Wendy Rose Williams. So before we continue on, I just want to give a shout out to Raul, who sent us a note on Facebook that said he's really loving the show, and I am too. Wendy, welcome back.
Thank you, Kim, and thank you, Raul.
Yeah, so before we went to break, we were talking about soul contracts. So just real quickly before we move into the final segment of our show, and also want to spend some time talking about your book here that's coming out where the audience can find it. But soul contracts. So you're saying you can, that our lives are not meant to be miserable, thank goodness. We are
Correct.
meant to enjoy them and enjoy them with the people around us. But what happens if we do have a troubling relationship that we can't seem to move past, or there's all just kinds of friction or tension in it, or heartache or heartbreak? Do you feel in any way, what if there are lessons to be learned from that? So how is that interfering with karma at all?
I'm glad you made that segue. And meditation or communicating with your guides to understand what's occurring is so powerful. And you can meditate and reach the other person, higher self to higher self, regardless if they are still in your life, regardless if they're still on the earth or not. They may have passed on too. And just communicate with them. And it takes a little bit of practice, and you have to put aside, oh, this is silly, or is this really working? I got to the point where I literally would lay down and meditate and treat it like it was a cell phone call. And it was like, okay, I'm relaxed. I know I'm in a good meditative state. May I please speak with the higher self of? And I would do it with my ex-husband as an example, and just communicate with. And then I would literally, within a few days, I would see an improvement. I would see something peaceful regarding our daughters or whatever it might be. But you can really see the difference because you're not skirting the lessons, you're not avoiding, but you're finding a more peaceful, loving way to get to solutions that weren't possible before. So I think that's the difference.
Yes, and I love how you say that. I do that myself, bring in the other person's higher self, and it's amazing what you can learn in that experience, I guess I'll say. And I think the beauty that comes from that too, Wendy, is that, that person may have caused you a lot of pain or heartache or heartbreak or whatever it is that you've experienced with them. But then when you talk to their true selves, you get to experience them in a new way, who they really are underneath all the, the lies or the betrayals or whatever it is.
Correct. And you may find that you specifically asked to have that experience so that you could either balance karma with them or with someone else, because karma is a teaching tool. It's a scale that has to be balanced or righted. It's not punishment. I hear folks saying, oh, I have this terrible karma. I can never get healthy or get a partner or have enough money because I have this terrible karma. It's been inflicted on me. No, I don't agree with that.
That's right. That's right. And there are, I even say too, that even in the darkest of times, there's beauty to be had. Actually, if you can get to that place, it's a good place to get to during the challenges. But there is beauty to be had from those dark times, and you can experience that for yourself through things like meditation, as we're talking about today.
Expressing gratitude is often, the foundation of a lot of it.
Yes, yes. And just to add to your book, you provide so many really nice resources in your book, from a list of practitioners that you highly recommend, some that have been on our show, and
Yes.
also tips on how to forgive. So there's a lot that can be learned from your book. So talk to us a little bit about your book and the what readers can expect, when
Yes.
it's expected to come out, where they can get it, and all of that good stuff.
I'd love to. It will be available on Amazon, both in Kindle edition and as a paperback, within the next 2 months or so. So it's at the point where I've just completed test readers, kindly gave their feedback. So it's just at the process of going through a final edit. And then it will be formatted, and I'll print one hard copy to do a final proof. And then it will be released at that point in the Kindle and the paperback versions on Amazon.com. So that's where it will be. And the session, it came about because my friend was having physical issues. He was having a lot of back pain and neck pain, and he had always had that ever since I had met him 6 or 7 years earlier. So I suggested we do a session. And I had no idea what twists and turns that would take, and that's what became the book.
Yeah, so just for our listening audience too, that's one of the ways in which you can correct things in this lifetime. Is this gentleman, Simon, came to you with all kinds of physical ailments, right? Pains,
yes.
Aches and pains.
Yes.
And most of the time people don't think of a past life regression session. I'm going to go see a past life regressionist to help me with that. So this is a beautiful thing to think about as something to explore, one of the ways that you can help yourself. And this was a pretty in-depth session, right, that you had,
yes.
where so many things were...
It was about 4.5 hours.
4.5 hours. So where so many things were uncovered to help him understand where the pain initiated, right? And how
yes.
you were able to help heal him of that, or he was able to heal himself, really.
Yes. There's a concept of lifetime of origin, and what was really interesting was he went through these 3 lives as a mayor in France, and as a World War II soldier, and as a huntsman. He went through these 3 lives, and then his higher self informed me after we had done the Healing Lights portion, and I said, is everything been resolved? Because he'd had a broken neck this life, so there was severe pain, still going on, and he wanted to be active, but was still having issues with that. And his higher self said to me, we have to go back. You didn't find the life. We went through 3 lives, but we didn't find the lifetime of origin that would release this pain. And what then occurred was he then had to forgive the individuals who had harmed him that was causing the pain. And the pain was simply a reminder. It's just a symptom to let you know there's something going on at the soul level. That's all pain is. Mm-hmm. It's a reminder. It's a gift in a way.
And also, Wendy, was very healing for the two of you too, as you talk about relationships and soulmates. You guys were uncovered all kinds of experiences that you had over the course of many lifetimes in many different roles.
Correct. We had many, many lives together, which we knew going into the session, but I didn't know that I had played a role in what led to his current pain. So once we went through that process of forgiving each other, it was profound. So that's why it needed to become a book.
Well, and isn't that just amazing how the universe brought everybody together to help in healing like that you were part of that pain and you were the one who was helping him to heal it.
And isn't that a perfect balancing of karma? Because, because I had been the person who had harmed him previously and then got to be in the role of being the healer. So, yes, that was that full circle was very, very appreciated.
Yes, and it's kind of, what I think is just really amazing is that if there's a relationship in your life that maybe there's just tension or like an intense energy to it, you don't even understand it yourself. It's something that's just kind of there. You don't really know why.
Yes.
You might be amazed of, the history behind your
Correct.
relationship.
Very, very true.
Very
true.
Someone in your life. Yeah, go ahead.
You've got that immediate reaction to someone, very strong. It can be very positive, or it can be like, whoa, I'm backing up a step. Either way, if you've got that immediate strong reaction, I would meditate on it personally and say, is there past life energy to clear? Is there a lesson to learn here? Do I know this person? How can I progress from this?
Right. And I think that's what's so important about your message today, is to bring in greater understanding to your current life today and how regression can help across the board, whether it's physical ailments, whether it's healing relationships, whether it's understanding more about yourself. For our audience, we are nearing the end of the show here. I just want to make sure that they get your contact information. Again, you can reach Wendy for more information. Perhaps you'd like to explore some past lives with her. 425-502-0362. Wendy, thank you so much for being our guest today. Next week, join us
Thank you,
for
Kim.
the Numbers Lady as we talk to Glynis McKent and we explore numerology. This is going to be a good one, folks. Have a beautiful week until then. And as Mark likes to say, be kind.